Great home game last night. They beat Portland 127-105 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 30 points for Norman Powell. James Harden had 23 and 7 assists. The Clippers are back at the Intuit Dome tonight against Minnesota. The Lakers are at Miami tonight. A lot of eyes will be on LeBron to see if he can shake his shooting slump. LeBron is 0 for 19 on three-pointers in the Lakers' last 4 games. Another milestone for USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins. The sophomore from Compton set a school record last night with 9 three-pointers in USC's win over California Baptist. Watkins finished with 40 points. USC, ranked 6th in the country, is 7-1. 3 more HBCU football programs are looking for a new head coach after making dismissals: Shaw University, Delaware State, and Alabama A&M. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
And this is what it feels like. And this is what it feels like. Look, the only reason I survive, cause it's special first. You get successful, then it gets stressful thirst. Gonna test you, see what your texture's worth. Diamonds and pipes, one of them pressure burst. Street, still I get checks and spurts. I'm for peace, but before I get pressed, I murk. Better days pray for, but expecting worse. At this level, boy, I'm just less concerned. Cruising in the 6, looking at the proceeds of rap music on my wrist. Drop another mixtape, my booming out this young Malcolm. I'm the leader of the movement out this love. And this is what it feels like. Reach a level, make you question, is it real life? All of good, all of real tight. And the only rule, keep your dollar bills right. This is what it feels like. And this is what it feels like.
In the spirit of liberation, we understand that they want everybody in the party in jail. And we know that if we try to figure out and separate and divide who should go and who shouldn't go, we spend more time doing that than working for the people. So the quick solution, the speedy one, nobody goes. Nobody goes. We all stay right here. With the people. Because we love the people. Okay, you can put your hands down now. We say all power to all people. We say white power to white people. Brown power to brown people. Yellow power to yellow people. Black power to black people. X power to those that we left out.
Fred Hampton was a cold piece. That's all I can tell you. Fred Hampton was a cold piece. I am delighted to welcome to this program, back to this program, famed civil rights attorney G. Flint Taylor, who I am asking in this hour to recall the successful lawsuit against the FBI for the assassination of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton 55 years ago today, and what the enduring lessons are for social justice leaders in this moment, for what can happen when they speak truth to power, and for that matter, to the powerless. Counselor, good to have you back on the program. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, Tavis. I'm really good. I'm really pleased to be back with you. And as always, it's very, very sobering and inspiring to hear the words of Fred Hampton as you just played them.
Oh, yeah. Time marches on. Time marches on. 55 years ago today. Take me back, sir. Take me back.
Well, a few hours earlier, on December 4th, 1969, 14 heavily armed Chicago police officers under the direction and control of the head prosecutor of Cook County, Edward V. Hanrahan, raided the apartment on the west side of Chicago where Fred Hampton and numerous other young Panthers were sleeping. About 15 minutes later, after about 90 to 99 bullets had been fired into that little apartment, most of them pointing to the back bedroom where Fred Hampton and his girlfriend, Deborah Johnson, were sleeping, the shooting stopped. And Fred Hampton lay dead with bullets in his head. Another Black Panther leader, Mark Clark, also lay dead. 5 of the young Panthers lay wounded, some very seriously. And all 7 of the surviving Panthers were arrested on trumped-up charges of attempted murder. That was what the scenario was on December 4th. The leader, the second leader to Fred Hampton, Bobby Rush, who has went on to be a congressperson for many years from Chicago, went to that apartment, and he called the people's lawyers down there. And I happened to be a young law student working with the People's Law Office, and so I ended up in that apartment at about 10 a.m. on December 4th, and for the next 10 days, day in and day out, we gathered evidence of that murder scene while the Panthers led thousands of people through that apartment, showing them the walls where the machine guns and shotguns and handguns fired by the police, where those bullets went. All or many focused right on that back bedroom where there was a mattress where Fred was lying, which was blood-soaked, and every morning the Panthers would bring that mattress back to where it was during the raid to show people the mattress where Fred Hampton was assassinated.
If you saw the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, you saw this on the big screen. We'll get Attorney Taylor's response to a question about the film when we come forward. But I especially, for the moment, want to stay inside this apartment. 55 years ago today, he was in the apartment, and I want to stay inside this apartment for a little bit longer, and then we will branch out. I'm honored to have famed civil rights attorney G. Flint Taylor on this program for the rest of this hour, looking back on the assassination of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton 55 years ago today. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
I was so excited when I heard the sandwich was back What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken. It's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
you're getting a winner.
The Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is back with a bite. Try it with the original or spicy filet now for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. When sending a package, why venture outside? Ship with USPS for a true holiday ride. Want to stay cozy and warm? There's no need to roam. With free package pickup and labels printed from home. We have over 600,000 employees always in motion. And before you know it, your gift has delivered emotion. Spread the holiday joy this season with USPS's Enhanced Network. Learn more at USPS.com/holidayride.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Tavis Smiley and G. Flint Taylor, famed civil rights attorney, who filed a lawsuit against the FBI for the assassination of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton in Chicago 55 years ago today. So, Counselor, take me back inside this apartment. And before I do that, let me just ask this: I mentioned the film Judas and the Black Messiah. Was that depiction relatively accurate?
Well, let me take you all the way back to another movie, which we had a showing last night in Chicago. 200 people turned out, and it's called The Murder of Fred Hampton. Mm-hmm. And it was made in 1970. And it was made with footage from that apartment that we're talking about. What happened was this filmmaker, Mike Gray and Howard Alk, were making a movie about the Panthers and Fred Hampton and following him around, and that was a sequel to a movie called American Revolution 2, which was about coalitions in Chicago forged by the Panthers. And but in the middle of this filming, Fred Hampton was assassinated. So as part of that crew that went to that apartment that I mentioned earlier and spent 10 days in it, Mike Gray and his camera crew were there as well. So out of that came the movie The Murder of Fred Hampton, which the first half shows in powerful detail Fred Hampton. And as wonderful as the actor was in Judas, Fred Hampton is much more powerful in person.
I'm sure.
As you could tell from the piece you played.
Indeed.
But the movie really captures that. And then the second half of the movie is about showing that it was a murder rather than a shootout, which is what, of course, the state's attorney Ed Hanrahan was trumpeting, and what the false narrative that was being put out. So that movie came out in 1970. So people should look that up if they really want to take a deep dive into that apartment and see, the bullet holes, see the blood, see the mattress, see all of that, the real deal. That's really, really, of course, at that point, we had just filed our lawsuit, and we hadn't gotten to the point of starting to uncover the FBI's role in the assassination. So at this point of that movie, it's about the police and the state's attorney's role in the murders of Hampton and Clark.
I'll come back to murder versus a shootout a little bit later in this conversation. We'll put a pin in that for right now. But I'm glad you put your finger on that. Back to this apartment. So
Right.
I can only imagine. Let me rephrase that. I cannot imagine the impact that being in that apartment for 10 days had on you. So I'll get back to Fred Hampton in a second. I'm asking you now a personal question. Just share with me, if you would, your own reflections as you look back on it all these years later, of what it was like to be in that apartment immediately after this murder, not a shootout, but this murder for 10 days. Just talk to me about that, Counselor.
Well, I was a kid. I was a 23-year-old, young, rather naive white kid from the suburbs of Boston, just being immersed in people's law for the last year and meeting Panthers, meeting Fred Hampton, starting to really understand on some level what the Panthers were all about, and having a deep respect for Fred Hampton as a leader and the Panthers for their programs and for their resistance to police violence. And so to be called to that apartment within hours of the murder or assassination, as it were, was just shocking. It was just like nothing that I doubt if hardly anybody would not have been shocked in walking in there. But as I mentioned in my book, it was quickly after you got over that initial shock in the blood, then it became clear that it was a murder scene. That this was no shootout. This was no, violent Black Panthers engaging in a shoot 'em out with the police. That this was a murder, and that it was our job to document that. And so that really, we put our, nose to the grindstone, so to speak, and that's what we did for the next 10 days until the prosecutor woke up and finally closed the apartment down, because for those 10 days, not only were we taking evidence, not only was Mike Gray filming, and we had a ballistics expert lining up all the shots to show, how they all came from the police guns. And the media was coming through, but the Panthers organized a tour of the apartment, as I mentioned, each morning, and literally thousands of people from the West Side community, from the South Side community, and from all over Chicagoland came through that apartment. And the Panthers showed them those bullet holes, and the Panthers showed them that bloody mattress, and they politicians, particularly African-American politicians and African-American leaders, came through. And so the narrative started to shift, and the narrative started to shift from a shootout to a shoot-in, and then as time went on, to a murder, and then, as I alluded to, through our lawsuit and other events, Watergate and the investigations in Washington of the FBI, it became known to be an assassination orchestrated in Washington.
I've often wondered about this. I've never had a chance to ask you this particular question, even in our prior conversations over the years. So here's my chance to ask it now while it's top of mind. And I don't mean to put you in the position of speaking for them, but why do you think, in retrospect, that the prosecutor left that apartment rather open for 10 days? I mean, to your point, you all were able to start to shift the narrative from a shootout to a shoot-in, from a shootout to the murder of Fred Hampton. But why do you think, in retrospect, that they didn't? I mean, it seems to me that they allowed you guys, or at least maybe "allow" is not the right word. I'll let you give me the right word as you see it. But my question is, let me shut up. My question is, why do you think the prosecutors did not shut that apartment down sooner?
Well, I'm asked that from time to time, and there seems to be two obvious or rather obvious possibilities. And one is they're going in there at 4:30 in the morning, okay, and by 5:30 you're going to start to have dawn, right? And you're in the middle of the African American community, and they could have and should have feared that when people found out what was going on in that community, there might well be an uprising. So on one hand, there's a certain fear factor, guilt factor in what they were doing, so they wanted to get the heck out of there. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they grabbed the weapons that the Panthers had in there, and they had a plan to bring it back to the state's attorney's office, to the prosecutor's office, not the crime lab, to the prosecutor's office, to lay it out on the table. And then Hanrahan would tell the big lie that the police and they had put together. Now, the other half of that, Tavis, is there was a certain amount of arrogance that they had. Well, we can go in there, we can do this, we can grab the guns, and we'll come back, and we'll say that these vicious Black Panthers engaged in a shootout with us, and the media will go for it, and we'll look like heroes. We'll look like Law and Order heroes that put down the Black Panther Party, and so that I think that's the combination of those two things: fear on the one hand and arrogance on the other.
I should mention that the book authored by our guest. G. Flint Taylor is entitled "The Torture Machine: Racism and Police Violence in Chicago." Once again, "The Torture Machine: Racism and Police Violence in Chicago." I'll delve more into that text as we move through this hour. But for the moment, let me pivot just for a second here, Counselor, if I can. I'm thinking because I've been talking about it, whether I want to or not. We're talking about all these appointments that Donald Trump is making for his cabinet. And as you likely know, do in fact know, Trump has selected as the head of the FBI a guy named Kash Patel, who is troublesome in a variety of ways. But he has a list of enemies. He has said very clearly, publicly, any number of times, that Donald Trump ought to, essentially go after the folk that came after him. So there clearly is going to be some retribution on the part of the FBI. In real time as we move through the next 4 years. So we're going to see an FBI on steroids, an FBI out of control if Kash Patel and Donald Trump have their way. Hold that thought just for a second. Here's my pivot. All these years later, how have you regarded the FBI?
Well, as I alluded to, that we were able to show during our lawsuit that the FBI had a super secret program under Hoover, and that was called COINTELPRO, or Counterintelligence Program.
That's right. And
that was a program that started out as a disruption and slander program against it started out against Marcus Garvey and his folks, and then went to the Socialist Workers' Party and the Communist Party. But then when the Black Liberation Movement became so strong, first in the South in the early 60s, and then later in the North in the cities, Panthers and others, it pivoted and made its main focus on those organizations and those leaders. And we know those names, right, Tavis? Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Dr. King, Rap Brown, those were all targeted, and I'm not just saying that by supposition. That those appeared in FBI documents, and they talked about stopping a messiah who would electrify and unify the Black nationalist movement. Again, that's Hoover's language. And, of course, that ultimately ended up being applied to Black Panther leadership and specifically to Fred Hampton. And the document showed that the FBI was behind the assassination of Hampton. They drew a floor plan marking where Hampton would be sleeping. They gave that to the raiding police officers. They took the COINTELPRO program and said that this raid was part of it and that it was successful, and then they gave a bonus to the informant provocateur, William O'Neill, who was so prominent in the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, a bonus for making the raid a success. So this is the one case where there's direct documentation from the FBI files that there was a conspiracy under COINTELPRO to assassinate a black leader. So that's the canvas that we're painting on in terms of the FBI as we knew it under Hoover and as it ultimately became unraveled in the 70s. So when you talk about what my view of the FBI is, I really that's where it rests, so to speak. Yep. And it isn't like the FBI became some kind of benign organization after all this exposure, but there were certainly it was tamped down by necessity to some degree over the ensuing decades. But as you say, that we're going to see Trump and whoever he puts in there, but the guy apparently that he has named so far is more than a willing accomplice to him.
That's right.
To do the kinds of things that we saw back in the 60s and 70s. And Tavis, as you may remember or have read about, Nixon came in '69, and he brought with him John Mitchell. He brought in a group of henchmen, his people. And not only did they institute the Southern strategy in terms of just the overt racist political strategy to win the South over to get elected, but when they got in power, they took over the Justice Department. They put people in the Justice Department who were anti-civil rights, and they put people in the agencies that were supposed to help people more who came with the antithetical positions in politics to whatever that agency was supposed to do. Yeah. So we need to brace ourselves and read a little history because in some way it's going to repeat itself if Trump is able to muster the power and the repression that he's so willingly talking about.
No question about that. Since you mentioned it, I just grabbed my phone right quick to look at my schedule because I thought I remembered this correctly, and indeed I do. You mentioned Richard Nixon. John Dean is on this program tomorrow. John Dean, who worked with Richard Nixon, is our guest in the second hour of tomorrow's program. I'm anxious to ask him, now that Trump has won re-election, what he expects out of Donald Trump, given that he worked for Richard Nixon, what he expects out of Donald Trump over these next 4 years. We talk to John Dean tomorrow in our second hour. By the way, since I'm looking at it, we lead tomorrow's program with Benny Thompson. We've talked a lot lately about Merrick Garland and Donald Trump and all the work that select committee did under Benny Thompson. So Benny Thompson, congressman out of Mississippi, is our lead guest tomorrow in the first hour. We'll talk to John Dean, of course, in the second hour. When we come forward in this hour with our friend and brother G. Flint Taylor, famed civil rights attorney behind the lawsuit against the FBI for the assassination of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton 55 years ago today, I want to come back to this notion of murder versus shootout. I got a few questions in that regard, and we will jump from there. You're listening to Tavis Smiley, and I'm glad about it.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. New York City Mayor Eric Adams confirmed he will cooperate with ICE to deport illegal immigrants who commit serious crimes. He seeks clarity on President-elect Trump's mass deportation plans and hopes to meet with Trump supporter czar Tom Homan. Donald Trump's legal team is demanding a judge dismiss his New York criminal case. They argue that President Biden's pardon of his son Hunter mirrors Trump's claims of selective prosecution. The filing asks the judge to nullify the jury's decision that Trump committed 34 felonies. Pete Hegseth, Trump's defense secretary nominee, allegedly had concerning drinking habits at Fox News. The New Yorker also detailed similar concerns from his previous jobs. Hegseth's legal team denies the allegations. And Family Guy is coming back to the Adult Swim channel. The Seth MacFarlane series will return in 2025, kicking off the year with a 3-day marathon beginning January 1st. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on the holidays' most fun gifts, all for under $15. Get low prices every day on unique finds before they're gone. In-store only at Macy's Backstage today. Find a location near you at Macy'sBackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers won their 9th straight home game last night. They beat Portland 127-105 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 30 points for Norman Powell. James Harden had 23 and 7 assists. The Clippers are back at the Intuit Dome tonight against Minnesota. The Lakers are at Miami tonight. A lot of eyes will be on LeBron to see if he can shake his shooting slump. LeBron is 0 for 19 on three-pointers in the Lakers' last 4 games. Another milestone for USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins. The sophomore from Compton set a school record last night with 9 three-pointers in USC's win over California Baptist. Watkins finished with 40 points. USC, ranked 6th in the country, is 7-1. 3 more HBCU football programs are looking for a new head coach after making dismissals: Shaw University, Delaware State, and Alabama A&M. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle, owner of Blindster.com. And right now, we're offering up to 50% off all our custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters during our Cyber Week sale. Don't miss out on some incredible deals. But hurry, sale ends December 10th. Blindster.com.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
When they got together, Bobby Seale, yes, they got together with guns, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because we need some guns. Black people need some peace. White people need some peace. And we are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace, because the people that we're asking for peace, they're a bunch of megalomaniac warmongers, and they don't even understand what peace means. And we've got to fight them. We've got to struggle with them to make them understand what peace means.
The voice of Fred Hampton, who was assassinated 55 years ago today in an apartment in Chicago. I am pleased to be joined by the famed civil rights attorney, G. Flint Taylor, who is recalling for us in this hour what happened that fateful day 55 years ago today, and the successful lawsuit against the FBI for the assassination of this Black Panther leader, Fred Hampton. We were talking in our earlier in today's program, we were talking about this week being 165 years since the execution of John Brown. 165 years ago today, this week rather, they executed John Brown. And it's fascinating. I love my audience, such a smart audience. Somebody sent me a message that said, Tavis, no matter black, Fred Hampton, or white, John Brown, liberating black folk is deadly business. That's a cold line. That's a cold line. No matter black, Fred Hampton, or white, John Brown, liberating black folk is deadly business. That is the thought of the day. I'm gonna hold on to that one. Again, love this audience and love my guest, G. Flint Taylor, who I'm honored to have on this program. His book is called "The Torture Machine: Racism and Police Violence in Chicago." And he's done the research. He was there 55 years ago. He ought to know. Let me come back to this brilliant move that the Panthers made in the wake of Fred Hampton's assassination by the FBI, to give tours of that apartment to everyday people in Chicago so they could see for themselves what had happened. See the bloody mattress, see the bullet holes. To your point earlier, Counselor, it was not a shootout. It was a shoot-in. It was, in fact, a murder. But the presence of mind of the Panthers to open that apartment up and to let thousands of folk come inside this small apartment to see this for themselves. Folk were standing on line for hours to get inside this apartment to actually see. It was a brilliant move retrospectively on the part of the Black Panthers, but I raise that only because I want to get your take on how you think that decision by them, in fact, did help to shift the narrative on what law enforcement was saying versus what really happened.
It was fundamental and enormous in changing the narrative and bringing forward the real truth of what happened. If you keep things shrouded in secrecy, it's very difficult to show the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But because this was, so to speak, afforded sunlight by the mistakes and the arrogance of the prosecutors and the police, and the Panthers seized on that in their anger and in their sorrow, to be able to do that and to be able to continue to understand politically, because they were very political people, what needed to be done and how to do it. Last night, I think I mentioned we had a showing of the murder of Fred Hampton, and Bobby Rush was there. Bobby Rush was basically the co-leader, the Minister of Defense of the Illinois Black Panther Party, and he stepped up. And you see this in the movie about how he just stepped up and condemned it as murder and called out Hanrahan, and he even called out Hoover without there being any real, documentary evidence revealed at that time, and of course called out the police and the Panthers under his command did the tours. He had to go into hiding because the police said Rush is next, and they raided his apartment the next night. But luckily, he had gone underground for a few days, and he wasn't there. But yes, that was very important, and Rush was certainly a stand-up hero of all of this. And in that movie also, one of the lawyers that we worked with and for, Skip Andrew, was a young white lawyer who was one of the main lawyers organizing the People's Law Office a few months before. And he was a genius in terms of organizing how we took the evidence and how the filming was done and all of that. So there were many important people involved, but those two folks really stand out as being exceptional in terms of resisting and reacting to the murders.
No, I love that decision by the Panthers to open that apartment up and to let people come in and see for themselves. As you were talking, I thought about a great jurist who once wrote, as you well know, that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let the people see. Tell the people the truth. Let them make their own decisions and come to their own conclusions. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let me ask you, we've been talking about the FBI. You have mentioned a few times, of course, the police department. Let me ask you, all these years later, whether or not this is still a stain, and that may not be a strong enough word, you tell me. Is this still a stain on Chicago PD?
Oh, definitely. This is definitely, an important historical event in the city, and it's something that all these years later, people still remember. People still honor Fred Hampton's name. People still see this raid and the police as the culprits, and they see the history that's gone forward in terms of the police misconduct and violence. As you mentioned in my book, I'm talking about 30 years of police torture here in the city that proceeded just after the assassination of Fred Hampton. So, yes, it fits into a framework and a mosaic of extreme police violence, prosecutorial misconduct and complicity, and of course, as we mentioned, the federal government's involvement as well. And I want to mention, Tavis, that I was honored to be involved recently with Ben Crump and John Moore, a very great civil rights lawyer in New York, in filing a lawsuit on behalf of Malcolm X's family.
Oh yeah, I read that. Sure.
Yeah, and there's the similarities are patent. At this point, there's so much left to still uncover in that case, and stuff is still coming out. Evidence is still coming out at this point about the FBI's knowledge and complicity and a cover-up, and perhaps we don't know yet what involvement they may have had. They certainly wanted Malcolm X assassinated, But at this point, we're still looking for that same link that we have in the Fred Hampton case. But the motive is certainly there, and the cover-up is certainly there.
I haven't talked to Ben lately about this particular Malcolm X lawsuit in the Malcolm X case. Haven't talked to my friend Ben Crump about it, but I was on the phone just the other day. She called me. I was on the phone with Atala Shabazz, eldest daughter of Minister Malcolm and Sister Betty. So I was just talking to Atala about this on the phone the other day. When we come forward, I want to ask about that apartment building. I'm just curious for those who visit Chicago and love doing historic tours. Whatever happened to that apartment building? I'm curious about that, and I'm curious as to what Mr. Taylor thinks is the best tribute, the greatest tribute to Fred Hampton in the city of Chicago. And I don't mean those persons like himself who are carrying on his legacy, and there are many who are doing that. But I'm talking about, not that I put too much stock on symbols, but symbolism does matter. Is there a statue? Like, what is the greatest tribute? What has the city of Chicago done, if anything? What's the community done, if anything, to make sure that the memory of Fred Hampton is not lost by way of statute or something else that I may be unaware of? We'll talk about that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and G. Flint Taylor as we reflect on the murder, the FBI murder of Fred Hampton 55 years ago today in the city of Chicago. A couple things I want to share from listeners right quick here, Counselor. Let me quote this first. Tavis, what is crazy is that Chicago was once a hub for the black resistance movement, and now look at how the guns, gang violence, and drugs have taken over. Hoover couldn't have done it better. That's one comment. The other is a question, and that is it's a question from one of our YouTube watchers right about now. Tavis, what was the fate of the persons who were the traitors against Fred Hampton? Did they survive? Did they live? What about the fate of the traitors, Counselor?
Well, the main traitor that we know about is this William O'Neill, and William O'Neill is featured in the Judas and the Black Messiah piece.
That's right.
He wasn't known at the murder of Fred Hampton stage when that film was made, but O'Neill was given that bonus when he was revealed a few years later and brought in to be questioned by us. He was given a new identity. He was relocated. He was given a lot of hush money over the years to keep the company in line in terms of the assassination. But after our trials and the case got resolved in the 80s, he was kind of left out there. And in early 1990, just about the time there was going to be a very important piece in Eyes on the Prize, which actually had an interview with him and talked about the FBI evidence that had come out in the interim, he committed suicide. He ran across the Eisenhower Expressway here in Chicago and was hit by a car. He most likely was high on cocaine at the time. And we often wondered whether, the fact that piece was coming out had any impact on his decision to kill himself.
Yeah.
But that's what happened to him, and most of the other informants, and there clearly were many, the same way there are many in the Malcolm X case, have been unidentified.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to them. We don't know exactly their roles, but we do know O'Neill's role. And I guess that answers that question.
It does indeed. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Mr. Taylor, I do want to ask him about that apartment building that the Panthers, in the immediate aftermath of the murder of Fred Hampton, did tours throughout. We'll ask about the apartment building, and I'm, again, curious as to what the community has done, what the city has done, if anything, to offer a living tribute to Fred Hampton. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
That morning chill means truck season!
5 more minutes.
No snoozing. Do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the class-leading range of the Silverado EV.
Talking to me?
Work, play, hauling, off-roading, a Chevy truck can take it all.
Okay, I'm up.
Get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 and Colorado pickups when you finance with GM Financial Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 24.5%. Plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/22.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed. John Brown, who we discussed earlier in today's program, was executed on December the 2nd. Fred Hampton executed on December the 4th, 110 years apart. There you have it. I've got 2.5 minutes left, Counselor. I want to give it to you. Tell me about this apartment building and whatever became of it, and what you regard, if anything, as an enduring tribute to Fred Hampton in the city of Chicago.
Well, the apartment has been rehabbed. I believe it's a condo now. But there is a movement called the Black Panther Party Historical Preservation Society, and it includes several former Panthers, or I guess they still consider themselves Panthers, and righteously so, here in the city. And they have organized the formation of and obtaining of plaques to memorialize 13 different sites around the city of Chicago where the Panthers, either the Panthers' offices, of course the assassination site, which you mentioned, the health clinic, the Black Breakfast for Children program where that was located, and also we're honored to have our original office site among the 13 Black Panther historical sites, and they have these wonderful plaques that are going to be mounted at those 13 sites to memorialize the history of the Black Panther Party here in Chicago. And those folks were the ones who organized the movie last night, and so they're really trying to keep and are keeping the Panther legacy and the history of Fred Hampton and the Panthers current and on the minds of people of generations who were not alive when that assassination happened. And the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, last August 30th, which is Fred Hampton's birthday, he declared it Fred Hampton Day.
Well, he's a West Sider himself.
He is. He is, and he ran on a very progressive ticket. He's been having some problems recently, but we're hoping he'll get through all of this.
No, he's on my prayer list. I told him that the last time I spoke to him. He's high up on my prayer list. G. Flint Taylor is a founding member of the People's Law Office in Chicago. He was, together with Jeff Haas, a lead lawyer in the landmark Fred Hampton and Mark Clark civil rights case. He has represented numerous police torture survivors during the past 33 years. He was one of the lawyers involved in the struggle for reparations and has chronicled the decades-long fight against Chicago police violence and torture in his book. It's called The Torture Machine: Racism and Police Violence in Chicago. I am honored, as always, to have had him on this program. Counselor, happy holidays to you, man. Thank you for your time. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Yes, it's always great to be with you, Tavis, and you keep up the great work and keeping people educated. We certainly are going to need it in these dark days that may come upon us.
You better believe it. You better believe it. Thank you for your time. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing. Until then, keep the faith.